So when I'm writing this script, I'm 2 subscribers away from having 150 on my channel, which is just insane to me because I released the 50 subs video in March, 8 months after my first upload to the channel, and in 2.5 months my subscribers have now tripled. So of course I wanted to thank all of you out there, both the old subscribers who are still sticking around and the new ones who pushed me up to this new number. I also wanted to address something I've been noticing recently, which is that the growth in my channel has coincided with the creation of a particular comment on a video on a completely different channel. I'm not sure how many people have actually subscribed because of the Bread Boys comment, but I know there are some because they've commented saying exactly that. For those who don't know, I made an enormous multi-paragraph comment doing a literary analysis of a 30-second shitpost video called Son, They've Taken Jerusalem by a channel called Bread Boys. After a few days of the comment being up, somehow the owners of that channel saw it and commented, hearted, and pinned it to the top of the comments, giving it an enormous amount of exposure on one of their most popular videos. The replies to the comment quickly capped at 500. I didn't even know YouTube comment replies had a max limit, and it has over 44,000 likes the last time I checked, which makes writing that comment the most influential thing I've ever done in my life by a long shot, which is actually kind of depressing if I think about it too hard. But it's also amazing that something I did on a whim got so much attention, and in honor of the subscriber increase I've had since making it, I thought I would just take a minute to answer some of the questions and comments that came up over the course of that reply thread, because I didn't actually reply to it myself again except to tell one guy to eat pant because he told me I was wasting my life and nobody would ever read it. You sure showed me, bro. Just kidding, man, no hard feelings. And in the background I'll have some footage of the father of Bread Boys in CK2 as the immortal king of Jerusalem taking back the Middle East. So the most prominent comments that popped up were ones comparing me to English teachers overanalyzing things or asking me if I am an English teacher. And I'm not, but that's actually not too far off. I originally really wanted to be a high school English teacher. I always did well in my English classes, partly because I've always been good at writing, but mostly because I've always been good at bullshitting and giving teachers exactly what they want, even if I don't have the knowledge behind it. So because I did well in those classes, I had a lot of positive connotations with the environment of an English class, and I figured, hey, if I learn how to do well on the other side of the class, being the teacher instead of the student, I could just continue doing the same type of thing I enjoy doing, while also helping kids find a love for the written word, just like I have. That ideal in my head fell apart pretty hard when I got some real-world experience shadowing a teacher, and I ultimately decided that that career path isn't for me, at least not at this stage. So I switched over to being an English and creative writing major, and clearly it's been a successful investment. Haha. Anyway, the other question I saw a lot was just like, why did you write this, or this is cool, but WTF, and those are extremely valid questions that I don't really have a good answer to. Purposely overanalyzing things that clearly don't have that much genuine creative thought put into them is really entertaining to me. It's a good exercise in picking out details and thinking of a meaning to attribute to them. That's a legitimate skill in the field of literary analysis and drawing meaning from any media, whether it's written, visual, music, or any combination of those things. The difference is that when you're doing real analysis, you're trying to figure out what the author of the media was attempting to express through their inclusion of all those details on purpose. And when you're analyzing 30-second shitposts or, like, I don't know, bad DeviantArt comics, you already know going in that the creator definitely wasn't thinking as hard about it while creating as you were when analyzing, and any legitimate-sounding analysis you come up with is just pieced together from your mind, drawing connections between specific disconnected details and creating meaning and order out of meaningless chaos. So in a way, analyzing utterly meaningless bullshit is, while admittedly a waste of time, the most pure form of literary analysis practice, because you know going in that your conclusions are wrong, but you can still find enough evidence to make them sound coherent and even profound if you're good enough at it. So the short answer is I do things like this for the meme, and for the fun, and as educational practice. Kind of getting back to the topic of English teachers, a lot of essay and analysis assignments can be approached in this exact same way. Good teachers don't want you to just puke up the commonly known meanings of books and plays and things that they have you read, and some of the best literature teachers I've had have the approach to grading their essays as, if you can find enough evidence in the text and argue that it supports some conclusion you've drawn about it, you get a perfect score, because whether or not you're right about what the author meant, you are able to make a strong argument about how valid your conclusion is. And if you think about it, like, that's how new ideas about the meaning of art can come to be. Somebody draws connections between details that nobody else has seen before. And some people will always think that it's bad analysis, or that it's bullshit, or that it's clearly not something the author meant to do. You're attributing meaning to something meaningless, but guess what? Art is subjective. Everybody can potentially get something different out of the same piece of art. Why should the creator be the only one with any say over the correct interpretation of their work? But at the same time, talented creators do put a lot of thought into every word, every detail in their work most of the time, because they're working with limited space, whether that's keeping their book to a certain page count, because not every story can be a massive doorstopper like The Hobbit with a long plot line and insane amounts of detail, because many people just don't have the attention span to tackle something like that. Especially in the modern day where we're seeing attention spans get lower and lower and people being less and less willing to read or pay attention to things for long periods of time. Have you ever noticed online articles saying 1 minute read or 2 minute read or something to that effect at the beginning? It's like, we now need to advertise that the things we read are short enough that you don't need to devote a lot of time to them. And I think if that continues, writers and other creators are going to work even harder than the great creative minds of the past in getting as much mileage as possible out of every single word. Because if you only have a 10-minute episode or a 2-minute read article or a 30-second video to get the most important details of your message across, saying a lot using less time is going to be much more important. So long story short, if you're still in school and you hate your English teacher because they keep telling you that the author made the curtains in the room blue to express the sadness of... They're not bullshitting you. The author of whatever you're reading didn't have to say the color of those curtains, or even that there were curtains. Your mind will fill in those details if you're engrossed in what you're reading. Giving such precise and individual details about mundane objects is a total waste of space as a creator unless you have a reason for it. Or unless you're getting paid by the word, but that's a whole other thing. And I guess now I'll address some specific comments. I have read every single one of the 500 replies. Most of them I read as they were posted, and I went through all of them again for this video, and I absolutely appreciate all of them, but I'm just going to be talking about the ones that are questions or are easy to answer in a video format like this. Anna Reg said, "Who are you, man? Why are you so wise? How are you so wise in terms of science?" I don't know that much about science, so I can't help you there, but I'm Fool's Gold. Nice to meet you. I guess I got so wise as a result of not really having many friends in my early childhood and spending a lot of time alone in my room, which was really bad for developing my social skills, and I suffered for it immensely as I got older, but it was really good for giving me a lot of time to read everything I could get my hands on and use my imagination, which I'd say are the two activities that developed my analysis skills the most. William McDonald said, "Reading this made me feel like everything means something and that everything leads up to one final thing, almost like a boss battle." Well, not everything means something. You could argue that in very absolute terms, nothing means anything, but by using our minds and our creativity, we can create the illusion of meaning in an uncaring and meaningless world, which is one of our strongest abilities as a cognizant being. Agent Hacks asked if I could write his book reports. Unfortunately, I wouldn't want to interrupt your education by doing your work for you, but I can give you the tip that write is spelled W-R-I-T-E. Dead Memes asked if I ever thought of writing novels. I would love to. I don't know if I think far enough ahead to be able to write a full-length novel, and like I said, it's kind of getting harder to find an audience who's even willing to read that amount. I prefer doing editing, analysis, and if I'm going to come up with a story of my own, I do short stories where I don't need to fill in every detail, just keep it very quick and self-contained. That's more my style. Declan Blackwell asked, "Don't you have schoolwork to do?" No, I actually don't. I'm finished with school, and all I have to do is go to work, play video games, and write bullshit like this. William T. Sherman didn't ask a question, but wrote a genuinely interesting response/supplement of his own analysis of the video, which is awesome, and I see it as 100% official and in line with canon of my comment. Thanks for writing that, and for killing all those Confederates that one time, Sherman. Buff Helpy asked if he could buy pot from me. Unfortunately, we're in quarantine right now, and bud is at a premium, so I can't hook you up. Sorry, man. I was sober when I wrote this too. The only drug I take for writing stuff like this is books. Ash39 asked how long it took to write the comment. I honestly don't remember. It was long enough that I did multiple rounds of editing on it to make sure it was perfect, but short enough that I wrote it all in one sitting without getting distracted by something else. David Thames also didn't ask a question, but replied to somebody who was telling me nobody would read my comment while doing some r/increasingly verbose level of shitposting, which I appreciate a great deal. Nicky Zapp wrote this quote from his German teacher, which I ran through Google Translate, and it's exactly what I was trying to express earlier and is funny as hell. And finally, Your Medic got this really kind comment in right before the replies capped at 500. I love it. Thank you so much, man. And thank you to all of you who made this 150 subscribers celebration possible, whether you joined the channel because of the Bread Boys comment, or if this is your first time even learning that this is a thing I did. I really appreciate all of you giving views and support to the things I make. Hopefully I'll continue to live up to your expectations with my videos in the future. But until then, I'll see you next time.